Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for clicking on my video again. And today I just want to share something that I have learned actually pretty recently. I'm actually a little ashamed to say that about composition. No matter if you are painting a digital painting or a traditional painting or you are doing comics like I'm currently doing right now, you can use a lot of those composition rules to help make your panels or your paintings look more cohesive and more balanced, and you can draw people's attention to the places or the characters you want them to focus on. So today we're going to talk about the easiest one, and you see that everywhere in movies, in paintings, and in artworks, everywhere. It's called the rule of third. And it's pretty easy. I'm going to show you by showing you a very, very rough sketch of the second issue of Nemesis, my comic book. And the first one is already out. If you want to get it, contact me, DM me to get the digital version, or if you're in China, you can get the printed version as well. But that's beside the point. So this is a very rough sketch of the second Nemesis book. It's only a storyline, it's baby steps, but I want to show you what I have learned and what I have applied when I was doing this, using the rule of third. So I'm going to first put the inking on, still pretty rough, but you can see the characters a little bit better. And with this, I'm going to use each panel to show you the rule of third. As you can see, I have a layer that's called rule of third, so I'm going to put it on. You can see those red pencil marks on it. So in here you can see the rule of third is pretty simple because you can put several things on it. You're going to dissect your panel or your painting into three parts. One part here, 1, 2, 3, and then also 1, 2, 3. So by doing these simple lines, you got 4 focal points right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And also you have a very dead center where if you want to make everybody's focus on the center, you can move your character into the center. So here, I'm actually not doing this very well, but oh well, I wanted to emphasize her fist, so I focused her fist on this point right here. And I'm just focusing all the most important information in the center and just leaving the other parts. I might even, in the final result, I might even blur out these sides so the focus is on the main character in the middle. So this is the first panel. Let's move on to the second one. So this one, I did exactly the same thing. I dissected this panel with 3 lines on the side and 3 lines on the bottom. So there are 3 sections right here. So what I want to focus on is actually these 2 parts of her eyes. So I try to line her eyes on these 4 central points. And then in the next panel, I also did exactly the same thing, no surprises there, but I focused the closer character to the camera on this line right here, and it has 2 focal points. And I moved the second character, I made it a little smaller and more of a bust right there. I focused her face on the first focal point and then her stomach on the second focal point. And also, of course, you can, like this, you can put one character a little bit closer to the camera and another character a little bit further from the camera to give an illusion of dimension. So this is the first kind that I did. It's the first rough draft. And let's go back to another panel. So in here, I improvised a little bit, as you can already see. In the first panel, I actually did a pretty similar thing. I cut my panel into 3 different parts, vertically and horizontally. And I focused certain things on focal points. So I wanted to focus her head a little bit lower because I want the character on the left to look pretty menacing or pretty intimidating. So the other character has to be lower. So I positioned her head right between these 2 focal points on the right, along this line right here. But I want to make her head a little bit lower, so the top of her head will be right here. That would be even better. I might change that later. And then on the left side, I wanted to focus this character on the left line right here with these 2 focal lines. So in here, by playing with the higher and lower horizons, and also putting them on these 2 lines or 2 focal points on the left and the 2 focal points on the right, this panel will look a little bit more cohesive than if they are exactly on the same level. Down here, with this panel, I did the same thing. It's a pretty dynamic panel. but I try to focus the main character who's actually doing the punching and the kicking on this focal point right here. And then her hand is on another focal point because I want people to pay attention to her motion, who's actually starting this action. And the rest of the painting, I just made it a little bit, I just made the other character cover the whole thing. She's not really taking up much focal points besides the fact that her head was right here focusing on this focal point. So with this, even though it looks like a triangular composition, but it still kind of focuses or follows the rule of third, focusing the main information along these focal points that the lines have created. And here is a variation of the rule of third. I actually switched, or I actually moved the lines a little bit diagonally to make this panel a little bit more dynamic. But it still focuses this character who's being kicked. She is right here. And the main character who's doing the action, her main body is taking up these two focal points right here and actually giving it motion when we actually switch it or actually move the lines or the guidance lines a little bit more diagonally. It also works. And down here, I put one extra element in the rule of third. I combine the rule of third with a triangular composition. And by making one character smaller, which is the character that just got defeated and is actually on the ground suffering, and the main character who actually won, and I made her much, much closer to the camera, looking like she is more powerful. So the legs are taking up mostly the left side, taking these two focal points and also the left side. And the other character is taking up this line that is created by the connection of these two focal points, but also put the triangular composition right here to give her a little shape, to give it a little contrast. So there's a triangle right here. And on this side, there's actually kind of a rectangular shape. But like this, there is drama in the panel, there is motion in the panel, and there is also information about who is more powerful, who is not as powerful, by following these simple rules and adding to the rule of third however you want to. So I did similar things as well with the other panels. And in here, the first one, I'm not really using the rule of third, but this one I definitely did. And you can see I focused the main character in the center where the two lines are creating the space, and she's taking up exactly the middle of the space. So she looks like she is facing a lot of danger, she's facing a lot of threat, but still this kind of composition shows that she is the main character, and all the other characters are basically squeezed into the middle section of this three-part panel. So they look like they are all trying to intimidate her. They're a little bit further away. There is definitely a sense of drama using the rule of third. I will talk a little bit more about that in using other people's or other geniuses' work of how the rule of third can work very well. So here we can see a lot of people, a lot of great artists, great directors have used the rule of third a lot. This is from 300. I'm pretty sure everybody's pretty familiar with that. And in this shot, there is also a rule of third. Even though you can see that this side is much more heavier than the rest. Actually, by doing that, you are focusing or emphasizing on the characters who are falling off, or the characters who are pushing the people to fall off the cliff. The main characters right here, these are the people who are winning and pushing people on this side, and then on the left-hand side are the people who are defeated and falling off. But this is also using the rule of third to actually give it, and also using very good use of negatives and positive space to give a sense of drama and a sense of emphasis and a sense of focus. Also, the rule of third can be seen right here. It's a little simpler. It's only changing the panel or changing the shot, dissecting it into only three parts, mainly focusing on the contrast of the big character right in the center and the many, many other characters in the background. Taking up, actually, they are taking up mostly the center of these three parts, right? So it also follows. Actually, the panel that I did with the main character standing in front and a bunch of people who are trying to hurt her in my comic is actually stolen from this shot. Surprise. Not really surprising. Well, anyway, you can also use other shapes as an addition to the rule of third, like this shot from Birdman, and he is definitely taking up most of the space and most of the attention from the audience because he is centered in a circular shape and also exactly in the middle of the third. Even though there are many other things on the sides, but your focus inevitably is drawn to the main character floating at the center of the room. So this is adding other shapes to the rule of third to make the composition even more attractive. Okay. This is also another example of a great rule of third, and to focus on Kill Bill focusing on her sword, he put the sword exactly in the middle in these three sections, and these three characters right here are squeezed at the bottom along the third section of the three sections. So it gives you a focus to the sword, and it also gives you an interesting background of the environment. Even though the main character is also taking up one half of this shot, but your focus is definitely on the sword, and also you can tell there's emotions and dramatic elements in there. So that's it today for what I wanted to share about composition, or what I have learned from the greats in cinema. And if you are interested in reading or checking out the digital version or the printed version of my first issue of Nemesis, please DM me or contact me on my Instagram and YouTube channel, and be my Patreon on Patreon. And also you can also reach me in different Chinese social network. I am on every platform possible inside and outside of China. And if you are in China, you can actually contact me and I'll give you one of these good quality, high quality printed versions of my first issue. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.